Seasoned Liberally. Today we're going to be making a quick ragu based off of the tomato sauce I did on my 5 mother sauces recipe a couple weeks ago. Stick around. So today we're going to be making a quick ragu. I talked a little bit about it in that video. That video is linked below. I did 5 mother sauces in 5 minutes where I really did a very 30,000 feet view of how they're done. Very quick instruction, very fast, and talked a little bit about what you can do with them. So I wanted to show you, and I got some messages from people who said, hey, I'd really love to know more about this particular one that you mentioned. It's a quick ragu that I like to make. So sometimes you feel a little more ambitious than just getting a jar of pasta sauce. Now, I don't want people to shame you into not enjoying your pasta sauce. If you like it and you want to eat it, eat it. You know, my suggestion too is if you find one you really like, and I like this version here, this is a arrabbiata, and it is spicy and delicious, and I really like it, and it goes well with a lot of stuff, and it actually goes well with other stuff mixed into it. Find one that you can do additives to and have some fun with it, create something that's already partially made, and then you create an add-on to it. Sometimes you're just tired. You want to just open one of these up and just call it a night, and that's okay. You know, you could be husband of the year, wife of the year, non-binary spouse partner of the year, but some nights you're a little tired and you don't want to go through any of the rigmarole of creating something. That's okay. Don't let anybody gatekeep you into thinking that you have to make something from scratch every single time you cook. So if you find one of these you like, use it. In fact, you might even just try to make the recipe I make with yours, right? Which will really just be frying up a little bit of Italian sausage, getting rid of the grease, pouring in your sauce, and then letting it simmer for a while. That'll be perfectly fine, but we're gonna make a sauce from scratch here today. We're gonna be making a very simple, typical tomato sauce that we will then be adding, we'll be cooking our Italian sausage in for a nice bit of time to soften it and to let all the flavors blend together. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna start cooking our Italian sausage. I'm gonna generously put in some oil into this pan and then add about a pound of Italian sausage. Now, I want to crush this up and get it so it's nice and smashed up and minced up in the bottom. Press it in there so a lot of it is in contact with the pan, and that pan heats it all up. I want to break these bigger pieces apart so as it cooks, more of it gets brown. I don't want to just dump it in there and just have one big chunk. I'm going to try to do 2 main things. I'm going to try to brown it, and I'm going to try to render any fat that's on it off of it. That's what I'm trying to do when I cook this sausage right now. And you know what can be particularly useful for this too is a masher, right? If I mash it as I cook it, I'm smashing down and basically cutting up these huge clumps so that more of it will get browned as I cook. So I like to keep a masher on hand just so I can smash down some of these bigger clumps that are in here. It's starting to get brown. And it's going to start to stick to the pan soon, so I'm going to get it out of here. So as you can see, there still is a little bit of oil in this pan. We're going to use some of that, and we're going to use some olive oil to add to this to start our vegetables. Now we're pulling our sausage out. Why are we doing that? Well, the onion in this and the garlic and the carrot really need to cook down quite a bit, and the onion needs to get a little brown. If it's full, the pan is full of a bunch of meat, the chances of the onion browning are less, and we need that to happen. So I'm going to generously put some more olive oil in here and drop a minced onion in here. This is not, it's not super minced. It's basically a very, I would say that this is a pretty regular dice. And I'm going to just let this cook. Keep it stirring. It's going to basically suck up any of the brown bits on the bottom of your pan. I'm going to put a little bit of salt on it, not to flavor, just to weaken the cell walls a little. And I'm going to let it brown up in this pan. It's going to be 5-10 minutes. I'm going to keep it at a medium-high heat and just let it cook in this pan, come up to a nice hot temperature, and start browning the edges a little bit. The onion in this, we want to get all of the pungentness out of the onion and make it sweet. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, you can see the onion's starting to get a little brown, just on the edges, right? And that's what we want. We're going to add to that 5 cloves of garlic that have been coarsely chopped. Now, this garlic has not been ultra minced. It's only been coarsely chopped. And to that, we're also going to add about 1/2 of a grated carrot. Now, the carrot is in here because tomato has a lot of acidity to it. And the carrot is going to sweeten it up. We're going to balance those flavors of that, the harshness and acidity of this tomato. We're going to balance it with this nice sweet carrot. This has got to cook for a couple minutes. And you want to keep it moving because you don't want any of that garlic to burn. It's going to start turning into mush pretty quickly though. Okay, our aromatics are really turning into almost a paste, right? They've cooked enough where the water is starting to come out of them. The onion is almost disintegrated. It was brown. We put in the garlic and the carrot, and they're starting to get really soft. And that's right where we want to be with this. What we're going to do is we're going to add a tiny bit of tomato paste to this, maybe a couple tablespoons worth, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to stir this around the bottom of the pan and let it cook just a little. Now this adds a nice color to your final sauce, right? Especially if we can cook this up a little bit and get it so that it's getting a nice rust color. It's going to start, you see how it's starting to make a rust color on the bottom? That's what we want. We want to see that rust color. Cook off that paste. You can smell that paste as it cooks. You don't want to burn it, but you want to brown it. You know, get it so it's getting that rusty color in the bottom. And then we're going to add a full can. This is a 28-ounce can with a little bit of water rinsed in it. So I rinsed out all the goodness that was in the can of crushed tomatoes. All right. We're going to give that a stir. Now, this is going to pull up any of the bits that were on the bottom, right? They're going to now incorporate into the sauce. If there's any brown bits on the bottom, they're now part of this. We're going to stir it, get it nice and warm, bring it back up to a simmer. While it's coming up to a simmer, I'm going to add, this is about a teaspoon of fresh thyme that's been chopped. Fresh thyme in this adds a lot of flavor, a nice depth, gives it a really good, strong umami flavor. You can add any herbs that you like to this. If you like fresh basil, I would add that at the end. I wouldn't cook with it. But if you want to add rosemary to this, if you like rosemary or fresh oregano or dry oregano, all that would be fine. You could do a trio of herbs, but I just put in, like I say, a little bit of fresh thyme. I feel like that minced adds quite a bit. I'm going to add back my sausage that was cooked. Stir this in. All right. So my sausage is now in, this needs to come back up to a boil. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring it up to a boil. Okay, it's starting to come back up to a boil here. Here's what you're doing. Now, sausage, if I were to cook the crumbles and just eat them, right, after they were sauteed, they'd taste fine, right? They'd be soft, they'd be delicious, they would be caramelized and delicious. But if I were to just dump that in my sauce and not let it sort of cook for a while, or dump it into this prepared sauce and not let it cook for a while, there'd be two separate flavors there. It certainly wouldn't taste like the sausage cooked in the sauce. It would taste like there's sausage and there's sauce, and it wouldn't really meld very well. It doesn't taste very good that way. It's got to cook together for a little while, right? And it also needs to go a lot longer than just like 5 or 6 minutes. It's got to go for 30 or 40 minutes. Sausage is nice and soft and delicious when you just cook it, but once you start adding wet heat, it starts to toughen up a little bit. So if you were to try to serve this to somebody at like 15 minutes, it's going to be tough. They're going to bite into the sausage and it's going to be tough. We want to soften that sausage down so it tastes like it's been cooked for a while, because it will have cooked for a while. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this simmer covered for 40 minutes once it comes back up to a boil. So we're going to cover it now, and we're going to let it sit. And we're going to let it simmer for 40 minutes. And you would do this even if you were to cook this off in your pasta sauce that you have in a jar, you would do the same thing. You'd add your sausage and let it sit and cook for a good long time. I'm actually going to let this cook for about 25 minutes, 30 minutes. Then I'm going to go put on my stove water to come to a boil so that I can cook off my noodles and then add them to this very quickly. So that whole process is happening at the same time rather than cooking this off and then starting my noodles. I'm going to cook it simultaneously rather than consecutively. So cover it up, let it cook. Okay, my pasta sauce has been cooking for almost 40 minutes now. I cooked off some spaghetti, and it is al dente. It's not completely finished, so I'm going to do what you should do, which is drop your pasta into your sauce, give it a stir, stir it on up. All my pasta comes out. Use the right tool for it. And it's not going to drain too much because we do want some of that water, right? And we're actually going to get some of that water here in a second. That's it for that. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to take a ladle full of this pasta water, put it in here. Now, I didn't salt and pepper it before I added my pasta water because my pasta water has salt in it. So I want to taste it before I season it. And this is going to cook for about 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes. Finish cooking that pasta inside this sauce. You want to keep it moving because you don't want it to stick. And it's on, pretty high heat here, so I want it to cook, but I don't want it to stick. Okay, I'm going to try a little piece of this sausage, see if it needs seasoning. I got to taste it. A little pepper, maybe. That's it. Salt content is perfect. A little bit of salt at the beginning, but that pasta water is salted heavily. And depending on how much you salt your pasta, you might not need to add any salt at all to this dish. Let me get a little tiny plate, give it a try. Okay. So this has been cooking. Like I said, it cooked for about 40 minutes. And you can really tell the difference in freshly cooked sausage versus this sausage, right? This sausage is very, very soft. It tastes like it's part of the sauce. It tastes like it's been incorporated. All right, so let's give it a shot. Oh, it's perfect. The noodles are perfectly al dente. And they cooked in that pasta sauce and sucked up, when I put them in there, they sucked up some of that sauce into them, right? So they're not just coated in it, they've been bathing in it for a couple of minutes. And they really infuse the flavor of that sauce into that noodle. And the sauce itself, the pieces of sauce, the pieces of sausage that are in here, they are delicious. It's got a perfect texture, kind of really soft, nicely cooked. It's got wonderful flavor, and it took 40 minutes, 45 minutes. This is something you can easily make on a weeknight. All right, well, I know some people had asked me about this, and hopefully you use this and put this into your lineup of things that you start cooking on occasion. Let me know if you liked it in the comments below. Go ahead and leave me a comment, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. All right, that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for joining me this week. Catch you next time. Season liberally.